What has the black man done to deserve respect from the black woman? What has the black man done to deserve submission from the black woman? The black male collective is failing the black community. These are just a few of the terms that you guys have heard tossed around and thrown about on social media coming from black women aimed at black men. Interestingly, when you compare black men to other races of men in the United States of America, you don't see a drastic difference between African American males and other non-white male groups, particularly Hispanic groups. In the issues or in the areas of education and income, you see that there is very close relationship between the two, with black men, black American men, having a slight edge in terms of income over Hispanic American males. Okay. Yet you don't see many Hispanic women on the internet saying that Hispanic American men have failed us and that they're that what have they done to deserve our submission? You don't hear that coming from them. Now, we know that the structure of the family, okay, within the Hispanic American community is very, very different than what it is in the black American community. Okay, in short, in a nutshell, the Hispanic American community values marriage a lot more collectively than I think the black American family, the average black American woman in particular does. Okay. And I have to discuss this, and I want to talk about this from the standpoint of a question. I want to ask you guys a question here. Do you guys think that the majority of black American women, African American women, see the average African American male as husband material? Do you think that the majority of black American women see the average or are physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally attracted to the average black American male? And what I mean by average, I mean average height, average weight, average income, average ambition, average everything. And before I give you guys my answer to that question, I'm going to tell you guys about one of my tenants. Okay, I have a tenant in a 3-bedroom who, so it's a couple, Hispanic couple. And we're talking about a family who has 5-6 children. Okay, a lot of kids. I had the privilege of going in their unit a couple of days ago to replace the baseboards in their kitchen. So I spent several hours around them, just kind of ear hustling, overhearing the things that were said between them. Now, the husband of this in this household is very average. Okay, I'd say he's even less than average. Okay, he's overweight, Hispanic guy, cool guy, very nice, but he's overweight. Doesn't have a full-time job. He hasn't worked in all the years that I've owned this property here. He does odd jobs on the side. He works on cars. He does little odd jobs, and that's the income that he brings in. Nothing particularly special about this guy. Now, his wife, she does work a full-time job. I know this because I know it, obviously. She comes home, she cooks, cleans, takes care of the house, takes care of the kids. Now, before you complain about that being oppressive, I can tell you guys that household is ran wonderfully. This household, if you spend 15 minutes with this family, you would say, my God, you guys get it. You guys are wonderful. This is a beautiful family. The dynamics of their family, I'm not saying they're perfect, but the dynamics of their family and how their household is run is incredible. And the proof is in the pudding, because they have children that range in age from 4 all the way to 19, 20 years of age. And they've been strong all of this time. Okay. Now, this man, obviously, he's average. He's overweight. He's less than average in a lot of ways. You could argue, someone could argue that he's less than average. But when I was in the household overhearing the way that she interacted with him, it became very obvious to me that she had a deep level of respect for him. She respected him as her husband. And I don't know if they're married. I don't even think they are actually married. But maybe they are, maybe they're not. I don't know. But the point of the matter is that she was not looking to take the lead in those situations. When they were talking about doing some grocery shopping, getting some food, because it was Super Bowl Sunday. This was yesterday. And I was just overhearing the way that she was talking to him. Very respectful. And at the end of the day, I could tell she wanted him to make the last decision. She gave him honor and respect and submission as a woman. And I think there's lessons to be learned from that. I think that a lot of men, myself included, believe that the answer to the question I asked earlier was hell no. I don't believe that the majority of young, single African-American women see the average black man as husband material. Now, again, to give you guys some context, I'm from California, okay? Maybe the problems that we have here are not exactly the same as the problems that exist where you are. But I can tell you here that the vibe that I get overall is that a lot of black women here, young black women in particular, really seem to kind of look down upon the average black male. They have this sense of entitlement. A lot of times they feel like they're better than these guys. And so what anyone who has that mentality will try to do is try to validate their perspective. So in other words, the questions from the beginning: what has the black man done to deserve my respect? What has the black man done to deserve my submission? These are a couple questions that you hear these women say. But the truth of the matter is that he really shouldn't have to do anything at all. The fact that he is a man should, to some extent, incur your respect and your submission. See, this is something a lot of people don't understand. But because the women, a lot of women, have this rebellious attitude, they're looking for a reason, not to validate, to respect you, but they're looking for a reason to actually validate their position of disrespect towards you. Because they have this idea, a lot of women have this idea that they are better than the average black man. And okay, if that's what it is, that's what it is. That's what you guys feel. That's what a lot of women believe or whatever. Then great. But when you look again at Black America and you look at the fact that 85% of black children are born to unwed mothers, when you look at the fact that I've heard it said that 1 in 4 black women will have the prospect of being married in her entire lifetime, at the very least, you could say that the marriage rates in America for black Americans are the lowest that they've ever been in the history of America. Okay. It's clear that there's a problem. There is a problem in the dynamic between black American men and black American women. And I think a lot of it stems from, to be honest, I think a lot of it stems from the women. And I'm not trying to harp on women or speak all this negativity and things like this, because people are going to turn this video into something that it's not. But if average is not good enough for you, if a woman cannot, if the majority of black women can agree and say that we don't consider the average black man to be husband material, right? Regardless of the reason, okay, then by default that means that we're going to be basically a failed race of people. But let's not even look at it from that perspective. Let's look at it from the perspective of women. That would mean that the majority of women would probably not get married in their lifetime. The majority of women will probably not be very caring or concerned women in general. Like, in other words, it's going to be apparent that this group of women, that any group of women who don't love or don't have admiration for their average man, the only thing that they can do is turn to society and serve basically for the interests of society, rather than turn and serve for the interests of their own communities, their own men, their own families. They would then turn to society to serve and admire them. And I think that that is really what's going on. This is one of the reasons why it seems as if so many African American women are so concerned with financial independence and, educational attainment and careers and all these things. Not that those are bad things. They're not. But again, in perspective, they do not outweigh the importance of family. Family should always be first, in my opinion, as far as that goes. So I think a lot of women have their priorities kind of like not right. Now, this doesn't mean to say that a lot of men don't have their priorities, all mixed up, and that a lot of black men are not just terrible men. There are some terrible black men out there, but we know that the media has a way of trying to gaslight or, make it seem as if things are much worse than what they are. For example, black American men date and marry interracially at a much lower percentage than white men, than Hispanic men. But if you just looked at the media, you would come to the conclusion that half of black men are out here dealing with non-black women. And the opposite of that is true as well, too. They always portray a lot of times black women with non-black men, when in fact black women actually date and marry interracially at the lowest rate of any, or at one of the lowest rates of any ethnic group of women in the United States of America. See, so the media is perpetuating this dysfunction amongst African Americans and amongst our communities. And this is where I think a part of the root of this problem lies, is that we have to get out of this social programming that teaches black women that they need to be independent, strong, whatever, rebellious, just you don't need no man. And to be honest with you guys as well, too, it's not just the media. For some of you guys, it's your mothers. For some of you guys, or some of you sisters, it's your aunties or some other, bitter black woman who's trying to convince you that you are going to fail if you deal with black men. Now, let me tell you, the other aspect of this is that a lot of times in black culture, the type of black men that are seen as the prize, so to speak, amongst black women, a lot of times these are some of the most irresponsible, low-level men. Like some of the worst choices that you could ever have in men are some of the men that are propped up as the ideal in the community. In short, good, I shouldn't even say good. Let's just say, husband material black men who have leadership qualities, who have, who want to be married. These are not the men that are celebrated in the black community. Like black love and black romance in general, like a healthy view of it, is not what we get. We get all of these dysfunctional views of what black love is supposed to be. And a lot of times it's not the average man. You don't see the average black man involved in loving relationships with black women in the media. It's very rare that you see that, right? So this is some of the images. These are some of the images that need to be changed. We have to get away from this admiration of dysfunction, this admiration of extremes, right? Because if we continue to, or if any society continued to only legitimize its extremes while simultaneously saying that the average is lame and not good enough, then what you're doing is you're actually ostracizing your own society. You're oppressing your own people by ostracizing the majority and saying that the average is not good enough. If these people, if this man or if this average woman is willing to be a husband, to be a wife, to take on the very basic, roles and responsibilities that happen in a household, then by all means that should be celebrated and acknowledged and respected, because that is the future of our people. Okay? So this is just food for thought for you guys here. And of course, I want to leave this on a positive note. I will say that in 2021, I did see a bit of an awakening on the behalf of certain black female content creators. And it gave me, and I think it gave some black men, a spark of hope to understand that there are some black women out there who are listening to the things that black men say, and are at the very least considering what the implication of their attitudes, like they're considering the implications of their actions and or inaction, and how that impacts the dynamics of the black community, the black family. I think we're entering into a time where more and more black women will be, how would you say, they'll be wife material, wife minded. And I think we're going to start to see less and less dysfunction and less ratchetness because of conversations like this. It's not just about holding women accountable. It's about holding one another accountable. It's about us establishing a healthy norm that can sustain us into the future. That's what this is about. This is about a reality check, and things of this nature, So, hey, I would love to hear you guys' comments on this topic of discussion. Like, share, subscribe. Tell me what you guys think. Until we chat again, it's Urban Politics, and I'm checking out. Go.